Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is another episode of Full Force Combat. I'm joined by my co-host Nathan, and we're delighted to be joined by Oktagon's mouthpiece, Mr. Bryan Lacey.
Sounds
How we doing,
disgusting,
Jen?
mate. Sounds disgusting. Oktagon's mouthpiece. Oh, good God. Yeah, but I suppose it's true, so I'll take it.
How we doing, gents?
Good, mate. How are you? How are you two doing?
Yeah, very good. Itching to get out next week for Prague.
Itching in the kitchen by the look of it, mate.
In the
What are you
kitchen.
doing there? You look like you've been put in the doghouse.
Yeah. we'll call it that. We'll call it that.
Love it.
So to start off with, the first thing I wanted to talk about on the card is the Kinsell Peñas fight. Now, I've seen a lot over social media over the last few days, but can you give us a run through it, Bryan, of where it's at with that and Peñas' feelings, because he's made them pretty clear, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think you've seen what he thinks, and again, it's so for me, the gutting thing is Kinsell's not fighting on the stadium. That's the first thing. So he's injured. He came out, and I feel like and it's not just the only reason, but I think one of the reasons that will have ignited him to stay with Oktagon, he had lots of offers on the table, was the chance to fight in the football stadium in his home city. And I don't know if you've watched events where he's been in the O2, which is 20,000. This would be almost 10,000 more people. When he comes out, it's magical. It's awesome. It's crazy. So it was going to hear that. And then it just feels like there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of effort to try and make it. But I feel like because it was kind of done in the public sphere, that it's left it to the point where Chepo now was set to fight him, but didn't want to do it for the title because he lost before. So he said, I don't want to fight for the title because I don't feel like I'm worthy. Then Peñas was expecting to fight for the interim. Then they went back and I think they offered it. But I think because of the back and the forth and whatever went on behind closed doors, it's a case of that they've just taken the fight off, which is gutting because either him and Peñas and Kinsell would be great. Chepo and Kinsell has got a lot of needle. I think they've been signed to fight twice before. They don't like each other. But it's just unfortunate. And it's the old cliche. The losers really are the fans because we would have loved to see either of those fights. That would have been spectacular to see that up at the top of the card right before Vemola and Vey came out. But where we are now, I think obviously Peñas is still under contract and we'll just need to find out whether Kinsell, when he comes back, and I'm sure that will be what we'll be looking at for next. But we'll wait, we'll see. And it's the wonderful world of MMA, mate. These twists and turns happen a lot.
Absolutely. It wouldn't be MMA without stuff like this happening.
Not at all.
Right, Karlos Vemola and Attila Vey. Now, this is a highly anticipated rematch. Attila Vey's not fought for, is it 4 years, near enough? But it's like I said, it's a highly anticipated rematch. Just want to touch on the impact that Vemola himself has had on Czech and Slovak MMA because he's a superstar, isn't he?
Yeah, both of them have done that. So Attila Vey was the first ever Bellator champion from Slovakia. In fact, the first fighter from Slovakia to claim a belt in a major promotion, and that put him into the spotlight over there. Karlos Vemola was the first fighter from the Czech Republic in the UFC, and the question always was who was the best, side by side, and especially with Oktagon having the whole thing with Slovakia and the Czech Republic, always there's competition. And these guys first fought in 2019, 9th of November 2019, and that was Attila Vey's last fight. And in that fight, he knocked out Karlos Vemola. I think it's 1 minute 37 or 1 minute 40 seconds or something like that. But after that, his sort of stock value in the sort of mainstream just flew up. He was on shows like Dancing in the Stars. Everything that came with the fame came to him. He sort of rode that horse. Since then, Karlos Vemola has had 12 fights, 11 MMA fights, 1 boxing fight. And he has not just Czech MMA and Slovak MMA, but if you look at Oktagon, what he has helped create and the platform, the big events, the main events he's been part of that have sort of helped Oktagon reach where they've got to now. He has been instrumental, but he's saying this is going to be his last fight. And what he wants to do is to scratch that itch. The worst loss he's got, and he's got a few on his record. I think he's lost 8, but none in the way and in the manner and in front of the fans that know him and love him the most, like when he lost to Attila Vey at Oktagon 15. So it's got everything, this fight. It's got everything. And the atmosphere will be insane when these two come out.
Absolutely. Oktagon 15. So was that your first event? Is that?
It was the first one I ever watched. So this is
Right,
my first event was Oktagon 22, and that was during lockdown. But the first, because I kind of seen them on social media, and I saw them. I think they'd done Oktagon 10. They were the first time in the O2 in Prague, and they sold out 15,000 tickets there. And it's just crazy. Like, you're MMA fans. There's not many promotions that kind of reach that level where they're consistently selling out stadiums. And for me, they were. I was watching all the others, but I just kept seeing them pop up on my feed with these big audiences. And it was the first card I watched, and it was because of Vemola and Vey. I know both of them. I'd followed both their careers. I knew Karlos from London Shoot Fighters, Attila Vey through. I was supposed to call one of his fights before, which I was gutted that I didn't get to do, but I'd followed his career. So I tuned in for those two, but I watched the entire card, Oktagon 15. And if you look at that card, it's got Apollo Silva made his debut on there. Mateusz Legerski was on that card. Who else is on that card? There's so many. There's Joaquin Christensen for Milos Petrashek. Kike Brito beats Gabor Bororosh on that. So if you look at that card, what we didn't know when we watched it is they're all the future stars that were coming through there. Vojta Barboric was on that card as well. So these fighters that hadn't reached where they've got to now, and some of them took the belts in Oktagon. You got Kike Brito, who became the welterweight champion. Legerski, the first ever lightweight champion. That card they were on. And in fact, Apollo's on this one again. Milos Petrashek is on this one again. And Legerski's on this one again. It's crazy to see how somehow it's just come full circle, not just for Vemola and Vey, but also for these other guys as well.
For you as well, though, that was the first one you watched, and now all these years later, you're going to get to call the fights.
It's mad. I did a video this week, and it should come out next week, which is kind of me catching people up on that fight, so taking them back and rewatching it. And I'd forgotten like how many good fights were on that card. And when I rewatched the main event as well, it was like watching it for the first time. And because it's, it's so far away from what it was, they've both been on completely different journeys. One in the cage, one outside of the cage. It's absolutely got me buzzing for this main event. And I've just, one of these things where you're just praying nothing happens. We've had something happen with Kinsella. We've had something happen with Peñas. I just don't want anything to happen with this fight, and also Shem Rock's. I'm just going to say that quietly. Shem Rock's fight's got to stay on the card. But
we'll whisper that. We'll whisper that.
Just say it quietly, please, MMA gods. So yeah, it's kind of full circle for me. It was the first fight card I watched, and it paid the pay-per-view, watched it, and I was like, oh my god, I couldn't understand the commentary. First time I've ever seen Andre Novotny do Yadame Bombe. First time I'd got like a full idea of what the production and the arena. And even when you look back then, that when the fighters are walking out, the fans are like so close. There's no security. Yeah. So even Oktagon have progressed in that amount of time as far as production and everything. But it kind of highlights what a big fight this is, and especially for UK Irish fans or ones that have just been with Oktagon for the last few years or couple of years or even year. I would recommend jumping back to watch that first fight, because it'll give you a taste of the Oktagon. They haven't just appeared over the last 12 months. They have been doing special things in the Czech Republic, in Slovakia, now in Germany, the UK. For it's been a journey. It hasn't just been something that's just happened.
Absolutely. Nathan, do you want to move us on to the UK lads?
Yeah, I was just gonna quickly ask, because it seemed like the perfect time to sort of ask about your own journey, Bryan, because you've got this is probably the biggest event one of the biggest events you've ever called. So how did you get into the broadcasting side and end up at Oktagon for this massive
yeah thing? Do you know what, it is hands down the biggest event that I've ever commentated on. It's not lost on any of the Oktagon staff as well. This is what's great about particularly this year, because we're doing the 2 football stadiums. We've already sold 45,000 tickets for Eintracht in Frankfurt October 12th. 45,000 tickets are sold, and we've only named I think 4 of the fighters and 1 of the fights on the card, which is insane. Wow. So Oktagon, and it's not just the fans, not just the fighters, but the staff, and me included, we're buzzing about what's happening. And there's moments where we're doing the team meetings where we're all kind of, and led by Pavel and Andre, they're saying, make sure you take these moments in, because it's going to be special. And that's one of the things I do. And it's my own little mantra, is what a life. I always say it. And it's my little way of freezing in a moment, just taking it in and going, this is special, and trying to remember it. For me, being selfish and going, I need to remember this. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to see what the atmosphere is going to be like. I think it's going to be a roller coaster from big fan favorite fights like the Cosmo Serdu, the Vemola Ave. I think it's going to be an absolute cacophony of hate for Shem Rock, which I am so looking forward to seeing him smile his way through it and into the cage. But yeah, for me to get into the broadcasting, it was a hobby, mate. I didn't set out. I did what you guys were doing. I started the podcast because I liked talking about fights. I was doing comedy at that point, and basically started doing that just with comedians, and then started talking to fighters, and then from there I got approached by promotions to come and do like the backstage interviews. And then I said to my mate, I was at BAMA 20, which would it be, Sterrett versus Stapleton. BAMA 25, I think it is. It's 25 or 29. And I said to my mate when I was there, I said, I'm going to get to that cage. I said, I'm here now. I'm going to get to that cage. And I think it was 3 events later I was presenting for BAMA. So it was, it was a hobby, but it's a passion. It's something that I work harder at than anything in my life before. But I don't take it for granted. I'm blessed and I absolutely love it. And the fact we've got a football stadium coming next, lads, it's it's going to be a little bit of squeaky bum time for Lacey before that one goes live.
And we talk about that cacophony of hate for Shem Rock. I mean, what can we expect from this fight? Because I mean, for the UK fans, this is probably the name that's drawing them to the card, I guess, with Shem Rock.
Yeah, him and Akon on the card for the UK, but Shem's it's got everything. It's got all the ingredients. It's the fight we never thought we were going to see. It's the fight that was taken from us in Manchester. It's and again, I don't know if it's ever been sort of said out loud, but I've been here for the start of the journey with Shem and Akonne. So quite literally, when we were filming Oktagon Challenge, I had a flat in a hotel. Shem was my neighbor. And so occasionally he'd pop over and we'd just sit and we'd chat and we'd talk. And this was when he was they were getting offered fights, and he came in, knocked on my door. He said, Bryan, lad. Do you know anything about this Akonne guy? And I was like, he's like a legend in the Czech Republic. I said, he almost lost his leg due to staph infection. He shattered his knee against Makayev in a fight, and that put him out for 2 years. He came back. He's like he fights with Kinsel. And then I said, also he had like a mega walkout in his last fight. He's a police officer, and the police walked him down, and Shem literally just went, I'm fighting him. That was it. That was it. I showed him the video of the walkout with the police, and he went, I'm fighting him. So that was the birth of it. And for UK fans, in fact, I feel like there's a journey still to happen with this fight. We want it to get past the weigh-ins, but I think that Shem, and he's aware of this, I think he needs to be, on his toes, because the Czech, and I'm not saying in a threatening way, but just, you don't want anything to boil over, and the fans are so behind Akonne for this. Like, the odds, I think, are well in the favor of Shem when you're looking at the skill set and the step part of the career they're in. But for me, this is the one to watch, because I think you are going to see Shem Rock walk into an atmosphere he's never walked into before. The backyard. Akonne is saying this is his last fight as well, so he has nothing to lose. He is decent. Like, he hasn't got to where he's got by, being an awful fighter. He's a dog. Like, you talk about that we're going to do this dog thing later. Like, if he was a dog, he would be he'd be like a Jack Russell. Like, he is just, he's relentless. He's full of emotion. He's always at your heels. And I feel like with the crowd behind him, it could be a moment for him to do something special. But for UK fans, if you want to see a one-man army walk into a battlefield, then wait for the walkout for Shem Rock, because that is going to be different to any other walkout in Oktagon. You watch the Oktagon shows and Cosma comes out, there's an amazing energy. The Baywatch music kicks off. You got Vemola coming out, and you've got Carmen Buriana bursting off the thing with the Terminator thing. There's an energy there, but it's all positive. I feel like this is the first time we are going to see literally a football stadium against one man. And if anybody can rise to that occasion, it is Shem Rock, with a smile on his face, with a swagger. And he's one of those fighters that I don't even have to ask a question. I could just drop the mic in the middle, leave, and he would sell the promo for whatever is next. So it's a mega fight, and it's going to be a very special atmosphere.
Is it safe to say that it's the biggest grudge match in Oktagon history?
I feel like it's, for the UK fans, it will be that's you can definitely say that. But I think Kinsel Vemola was the biggest grudge match in Oktagon history. That was from 2016. That the hate between that, the online stuff, the face-to-faces. I was in the same room as both those guys, and I like both those guys, and they are good guys. And I like it was. I felt like I didn't want to be in that room because of the energy that was. So there's certain genuine bits of hate, and I feel like that was the biggest one for Oktagon. But if you are talking about and even domestic promotions for in the UK, if there's anything with more under it, I'd love to see it. But I feel like Shem Rock, with all the history with the police, what happened in Manchester, and the fact he's going to the Czech Republic to take this fight, I feel like that makes it the biggest grudge match the UK and Irish fans will ever see. Look at you rubbing your hands together, mate. Look at you. Go on.
Now, Akonne Wanliss, the other UK representative, he has got a really good chance of winning the whole thing, hasn't he? So where do you see him in the dimension of the game changer?
You know what? Again, I was there for this journey as well. So I'm good friends with Akonne, and we were traveling back from somewhere. It might have been off the back of the wrap of Oktagon Challenge as well. But we were in an airport and we were talking about things, and the game changer was coming back around, and they hadn't announced it was going to be at lightweight. But we talked about it, like what an opportunity that would be to, establish yourself. Because I feel like he's one of these fighters. He's got the swagger, he's got the look, he's training with the best in the world, quite literally, day to day, main sparring partners with Leon Edwards. And he's got the personality, he's got a brand, he's got all that stuff. And it just, for me, it would baffle me why he's not bigger, why this kid hasn't been scooped up by other big promotions. So for me, I feel like this is his coming out party. I think the Siraj fight, with all that happened before it, was, a way of getting on the map. And that finish was as clean as you could have got out of that fight, especially if you got Ligursky like 6 weeks later. But this is the one. Ligursky, for me, is the dark horse of the tournament. First ever Oktagon lightweight champion, good everywhere. Nicknamed Dynamite because he can knock you out with his hands. We saw against Kohu, if he takes you down, he's very good at getting to your back. And when he gets to your back, he's got good submissions. But I feel like Akonne Wanliss has got physically the attributes to do this. Like, he is a massive lightweight. He is one of the most athletic human beings I've ever seen in my life. His striking is excellent. Like, you saw that knockout was on the back foot against Siraj with a short left hook, and that's what he did to that guy. And his grappling, people underestimate. They think he's just a striker. I've been at Renegade when they're doing the grappling rounds, whether he's with Fabian, whether he's with Leon, whether he's with any of the other monsters down there, Tom Breeze, the lot. He is extremely good. He's hard to hold down, and people get tired trying to keep hold of him. And if you get tired, you get sloppy. If you get sloppy, you get caught, and he only has to catch you. So I feel like this Ligursky fight is the true litmus test. If he starches Ligursky, if he starches him, then every single other lightweight in that tournament will have to take notice, because that guy is legit. Ligursky is world class. I mean that. I've seen him in all different fights, from wars to clinical finishes. He is world class. And I feel like Akonne, if he does what he did to Siraj, or even if he comes through a 3-round war, that is him saying, I'm serious and you need to pay attention.
Absolutely. Nath?
And then on the other side of that tournament, you've got the Duque Makaev fight. I mean, I was watching the YouTube video this morning that Oktagon put out. I mean, what an incredible story for Duque, and what a great fight that's looking.
But both of them as well. Like, Makaev is this, he's got this strange aura about him. Like, he says in his interview afterwards, he doesn't care. He's just seeing him as numbers. One by one, he's going to go through. And it's the way he says it. It's not that, like, there's no promo about it. There's nothing. This is just the facts. That's what he believes. And when you look at what he did to Mr. Finland, Amir Khani, the most experienced fighter who'd fought the best fighters, if you look at resumes out of everybody in the Game Changer, he handled him. He was, quicker, hit harder, faster, better in every position in my eyes, and then got the finish in the 3rd round. But Duque he's the Rocky story. He's the Cinderella man. He is fighting for something different. Whenever you look at fights, you look at whys. What is fueling them? What's getting them up in the morning? He could change his life. He is still working in the dock, building ships, docking ships. He is still having that life. But on the other side, the flip of the coin, on June the 8th, he will walk into a football stadium. And if he wins that fight, he guarantees himself 80,000 euros. Then if he goes on to the next fight, you're into the 140,000 euros and you're one step away from 300,000 euros and being able to, you know, to cement your legacy, to change your life, to not just be the shipbuilder, to be a legit force. And him against Grabinski, I said it in the video, I thought he had no chance. I thought it was the biggest mismatch on the card. But what you saw there is somebody fighting for more than, and again, take the skill out of it, take all that. He wanted it more. He absolutely wanted that win more. And he showed it with every scramble, every bad position. Every time he got clipped, he fired back. So you got the youngest fighter versus the oldest fighter. And it's just great. It's drama, it's story, it's everything that is beautiful about combat sports. And one of these guys will take a step forward. And the winner of that will face the winner of Daniel Torres versus Paradisa. So again, no easy fights. It's a killer's row. But taking that step forward will be massive for Makayev because he's only 26, I think. But Duque, to do it at his age, with his background, training and fighting part-time, would be it'd be a movie. And
the format of that, of the sort of how Makayev just goes, I'm fighting you. I mean, that's I've not seen that before really when it comes to a tournament.
It was great. So and that's even the way he did it is like what he's like. I've tried to, like, I'm good at warming to people. Like, I can bump, you can put me anywhere and I'll be able to sort of get a smile out of somebody. He is cold as ice and he is laser focused. Like, he's not doing many interviews outside of training. He's laser focused and believes that he's been underestimated. He's 14-1 at 26. That's incredible. And it's not just, you know, they're good wins, and he's technical and he's got intelligence. He's got all the skills in every single area. And I feel like there's a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think he's watched other people get further than he is with less than he's got. Yeah. And I feel that, again, when you look at the whys, I feel like this is him almost like a kid in his bedroom throwing a tantrum, saying, pay me attention, pay me attention. And if he gets through Duque and then with the winner of Paradisa and Torres, you cannot ignore that kid.
Absolutely. So just touching back on the UK scene now, Oktagon, we approach, well, it's since the challenge, it's a year, isn't it, since the challenge was going on. So we've not had any UK show announcements this year yet. Can you give us a time frame, or do you know, can you give us anything on UK show announcements, mate? I can for sure. So the plan was to deliver a show in November. That was the plan. We have got a show on October 12th, which is the football stadium, which is Eintracht. Yeah. Now, obviously, when you look at the gravitas of that show, the size of it, it's even hard to comprehend. You think about the number of people, but the people that are doing the production are absolutely trying their hardest and working as much as they can to deliver the best show possible. Yeah, and they basically said the two hardest territories we've got, because we've got all the relationships in Slovakia, all the relationships in the Czech Republic, but in Germany, we're still building relationships. In the UK, we're still building relationships. And obviously the priority, and the numbers are saying, if we've sold 45,000 tickets, is to focus on that show and make it the best it can be. So with that, we've kind of taken a shift, and the idea will be now to come back to the UK with in the first quarter of 2025. And I get it. I'm disappointed. I'd like to see another UK show come, but again, we've got to you've got to recognize where it's working, and definitely Germany, and also the production team. It's not a massive team, and they are under the wire. There's an event this month. Then we've got July 20th, we've got Bratislava. There's a break in the summer. Then we're going to have 2 in September, the big one in October. We've got 1 in November, 2 in December. So for me, it makes business sense to step back again, realign with the market, with the UK, build another project, do something else, maybe not Oktagon Challenge, but something that can catch people's eye, and then come back 2025 with something exciting. So I'm looking forward to being able to tell people exactly what, but I'm not allowed. Excellent. Well, we'll keep our ears to the ground for that. But in terms of us, the UK fan that are new to Oktagon, because it's fresh for us, I've said this time and time again, I fell in love with the promotion. This is going to be, since Manchester, it's going to be my 5th Oktagon event, and it'll be my 2nd time in Prague already. So that speaks volumes, doesn't it? You know,
it's mega. And also, like, for you, like, you say what it's like for me to be there, but even for you to be there and, you know, feel the atmosphere, be around the fighters. And again, it's one of those things that I kind of wish I could take some UK fans and just drop them into Prague or into an event in Bratislava and show them what is possible, what the atmosphere can be like, what we can create here. And we deserve it in the UK. The fighters deserve it. We deserve it as fans, and we'll get there. We will get there. But I feel like, yeah, these moments, and the biggest success I think we had with the UK so far is the press engagement. It's like guys like you and, you know, across the board, from the independent media to Sport Bible to whatever else, Sporf and things like that, coming and recognizing, like you said, falling in love with the promotion, falling in love with the stories, the fighters, the way we're kind of doing stuff, the atmosphere, the energy of the event. So yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I feel like this year will be landmark. 2 football stadiums in 1 year, which no other European promotion has done. If the people and it kind of works out mathematically, the game changer, if they win the quarterfinals in Prague and in Prague, then they will fight probably in Eintracht. So you will have fighters that in 1 year will have fought on 2 football stadiums, which again, I don't know if there's any other European fighters that will be able to say they've done that. So this feels like it's a special year. So, but it also, again, it feels like we're moving so fast that I can't picture where we'll be in 2025, 2030, 2035. It's insane with this type of progress.
Just touching on what you said about the press there. Now, I've been covering combat sports for a few years. I've done stadium events with Tyson Fury and stuff like that. But the most recent one at Birmingham, it was carnage for press. Now, I've never seen, especially with a relatively new promotion to come to the UK, I've never seen anything like it. It was incredible. Like I said, it was absolute carnage, mate. And
but it's because
no disrespect to Cage Warriors or anything like that, but I've never seen that at a Cage Warriors event. I've never seen that at some boxing events, and I've covered some really big shows in my time.
This is, and for me, that is. It's almost the proof of the pudding, because fans will kind of be territorial with the shows they go to, also with the money that they've got to be able to go to certain shows. But press like you guys that do travel, that do get a taste and a feel for the different promotions, we get what you've said to me is not uncommon. And that is one of the things we're proudest of, is because, and I hope it's because we're telling the stories. I hope it's because we're putting interesting fights on. I hope it's because we're giving good access as well to you guys, so that, you know, you can do what you do. Your platforms can benefit as well. But it is, and I said it in a meeting with Pavel and Lukasz, one of the guys working in the UK as well. I said there's no other promotion bringing the numbers as far as press and eyes and media like we are doing. Even if the numbers aren't in the stadiums, in the seats with butts there, if we're getting it there, the proof in the pudding is the guys, the girls that are in and out going to the shows and saying, this is special, this is different, and I want to be at these events. So it means a lot, mate. Thank you.
Absolutely. Nath?
Just to sort of go back to the card, and just to, you know, we've spoke about quite a few fights here, but there's also a fair that we haven't. Is there one like particular sleeper fight that perhaps you want to bring eyes to quickly?
Not even a sleeper. David Kozma versus Jon Serdu.
Oh, yes.
What a fight. You got Kozma, the first, the longest reigning welterweight champion. I think he had 7 title defenses, legendary fights, absolute wars. And against against Jon Serdu, who was voted the breakout or breakthrough fighter for 2023 by the fans. And that says everything. You know, his personality is infectious. His fighting style. You look at what he did to Alex Lahore. Nobody's done that to him. You look at how he went through it, and he had the slip up with Paterno, but even he recognizes that's top level competition, and one mistake was wrong.
Paterno, yeah, there's no shame in losing to him. No.
I rate him so highly. But Serdu, I feel like he is a fan favorite, but because Kozma's at home, he's going to be walking into, again, everyone behind Kozma. But they're just special fighters. You know, they always put on a show. They're never in boring fights. They're great personalities outside. They've got wonderful stories. Jon Serdu, you know, moving to Romania, not even be able to speak the language, having to grow up there, going through everything that went through, from moving countries and trying to, you know, be a young man in a country that wasn't his, that he doesn't speak the language, coming through and being this big personality, winning their version of Survivor. I don't know if you even know this, that the TV series Survivor, they have a version in Romania, which I always think, if you think of a Romanian version of Survivor, it's like The Hostel, that horror movie or something. But he won that. And then on the flip side, you got David Cosma, who was bullied so badly at school because of his stammer. He had a speech impediment. Even through his career, when I first joined, he very rarely did interviews, didn't do videos, didn't do anything like that. He's gained confidence. He's sort of worked with therapy for his speech. He now speaks and he works with kids that are going through bullying. He's the face of our campaign, which is an anti-bullying campaign across Slovakia, across the Czech Republic. So these guys are like champions outside the cage, but they are motherfuckers in it. That is what they are. Cosma can take more damage than any man I've ever seen and still come through and find a way to win. That's the championship. That's the champion he is. And Jon Serdu believes his destiny to be the Oktagon champion. So for me, that is not even a sleeper fight. It is, you know, just one hell of an absolute war that we're going to be in store for them.
Absolutely. Now, we've spoke a bit. No, I know this anyway. Nathan mentioned it about the comedian side. So you've had some funny moments on stage doing stand-up, etc. What's been the funniest moment or moments for you in Oktagon so far? There's got to be a good handful.
No, there's one, and it's hands that is Jon Serdu again. It's Jon Serdu when we did the pick. I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if you watched the live draw for the Tip Sport Game Changer, but Daniel Torres fought Vlado Lengal, and he got injured, had to go to the hospital afterwards. So the idea was the fighters were supposed to stand on stage and pick their slot, like you've seen on the video. And Jon Serdu spoke to the manager and said, you tell me where you want me to stand and I'll do it for you. I'll get you don't you worry, I'll keep you on FaceTime, I'll come up. And Jon is, I get on very well with Jon Serdu, and he's funny and he's a great guy. And he went up on stage and he wandered to his spot and they introduced him and he stood there and then he's looking at the phone, and the next guy up is Paradiso, and Paradiso comes and stands next to him. You see Jon Serdu just looking at the phone. And he's like, and he just looked at me and he went, fuck. I went, what's happened? He went, I fucked up, brother. I fucked up. I was supposed to stand next to Akoiden Duque. and now I've just got Torres a fight with my best friend, Ronnie Paradisa. So we were on stage while he's at, and there's a great, I've done a video of it. If you watch the Serdu video interview I did with him a couple of weeks ago, I actually clipped the bit where he's on stage and the guys, you see Ronnie Paradisa talking to Andre Novotny, and in between you can just see Jon Serdu shaking his head at his phone and then putting his head in his hands. So for me, it's not a moment that I've had, but to witness Jon Serdu absolutely destroy the Tip Sport Game Changer picking process and put Daniel Torres in with his best mate, it's gold, mate. You can't write that shit.
Yeah, love it. Right, to round it up, Bryan, we will finish with a bit of fun.
We're going to get naked now, boys. Is this it? Is it time?
Don't
Come on.
Me with a good time. If fighters were dog breeds, what would they be? Now, I've chose 5, and they're all on the card next week. So we'll start with the man who's bowing out, the last dance, Karlos, the Terminator, Vemola.
Listen, there's certain fighters, and they're just built different. They are just built different. Do you know, Joe Rogan talks about touching Dan Henderson and him just feeling different. Like when I first interviewed Karlos Vemola and put my hands on his shoulder, you can't believe the density of this human being. Like, he is muscle on muscle and like rigid as hell. So for me, he has to be a pit bull, probably illegal in some countries. When he gets hold of you, he doesn't want to let go, and as powerful as any fighter that I've ever witnessed inside the cage. So Vemola for me, the pit bull.
Love it. That's good thinking behind that one. Akonne Wanliss, the Jedi.
Akonne, I love this game because I could get in serious trouble if I start putting like Bichon Freeze or something like that. I'm going to get phone calls off all these guys. But I don't know if you've ever seen with Akonne, like, you can watch it in some of the videos. He does this thing, and he's big anyway. Like, his upper body is phenomenally big. But when I stand on stage for the stare downs, I stand in front of the scale. So I see them do the thing where they're on the scale, or they do the hand up, or they give a kiss to God or whatever else. When Akonne does it, his back kind of goes wider. So I think he has to be a Rhodesian Ridgeback, because there's something about the way that his heckles come up when he gets in proximity of his opponent, the way he feels, the way he looks, and that back, that massive, gargantuan athletic back that I wish I had. It'd have to be a Ridgeback for Wanliss.
Great thinking behind that one as well. Right now, the man. This is going to be funny. This one, Shem Rock, Mr. Shem Rock. I've had some funny answers for Shem. Just running through my head.
No, listen, I've thought about this, because again, one of the answers, and if you're thinking about trait, and you're talking to a man who knows dogs, I love dogs. Dogs are my thing. If this was a podcast on dogs, I'd surprise you. I could talk more than I've talked now, but I could piss Shem off a little bit and say Alsatian, but that's because that's a police dog. I won't say that. It can't be an Alsatian. But and it is my favorite dog, is the Staffordshire Bull Terrier. It is the most loyal dog. Like, it is the most fun-loving, beautiful dog in the house you can have. Like, they're gentle, they are protectors, but if you cross that line, then you make the biggest mistake that you could ever make. And for me, Shem Rock is the people's, fighter. He is when you're in his presence, he is nothing but fun and great to be around. But you cross that line, or you talk about his people, and then you will see what a Staffordshire Bull Terrier can do. And I've got one. One's out there. My 15-year-old Staffy's out there, and that's got to be Shem for me. And you see a lot of them in Liverpool. That's the other thing. Yeah.
I've got one myself, Bryan, that's 14, but that's great thinking, that, because the world-renowned family dogs aren't there. But like you said, they can switch. So across the line, and that's it.
My dog is, because I've traveled a lot, whether it's comedy or whether it's that, my dog has been my security for my family while I've been gone. And I could, since my daughter was a baby, I could put my dog in the cot and it would look after her. But if anybody went near her with any bad intentions, or even looked at her the wrong way, then I know my dog would have handled that. Not now. Now it can barely get on the couch. But before, you're in trouble, lads. All right.
Moving on now. David Cosma.
What
breed would Cosma be?
Cosma is a different breed, right? Because for me, it's one of these dogs. It's I've forgotten exactly which. In fact, what I would say is it's almost like a sheepdog. I don't know if you've seen these things, and it's probably, in fact, maybe not a sheepdog. Maybe what I'm trying to say is like a wolfhound or a sheepdog, like something that protects and can take a lot of damage. Like, if you ever see, there's a famous video of a dog. Is it a mastiff? Fuck it, I'll stick with the sheepdog. But there's a famous thing of a wolf tried to attack some sheep, and this sheepdog stood up and fought off a pack of dogs. And by the end of it, the sheep are all gathered round the sheepdog. They can't say thanks, but you can recognize that this dog has sacrificed something. And Cosma he fights for the people. He goes into battles against people where you think he could, like Kike Brito, the fact he took that amount of damage. And I reckon if that had gone to a 5th round, he would have won that. But you look at the Apollo fight, he's in the most trouble you've ever seen him, and he finds a way to protect and to keep the belt and to get the victory. So something like that, a real pack dog for Cosma, something that takes a lot of damage but that is a protector.
A border collie. I love the thinking behind these answers.
I'm a dog man, mate. This is honestly the best time I've had in a long time, lads. This is great. This is great.
And we'll finish it with the Dracula. Now, I like him. I've spoken to him on several occasions, Mr. Surdu.
Surdu is easy. This Dracula's got to be a bloodhound, right? Bloodhound. Same again.
That makes sense.
You look at the way they're built. They're big dogs. They sort of dogs that you look at them. They're cute. They got like extra skin and they're all this stuff. But they have a purpose, and their one purpose is to seek out and destroy. All right. And that is exactly what he does. And they're called bloodhounds for a reason. That's it. They'll wound an animal and then they'll follow it. And while it's wounded, and when it's on its last legs, they will finish it. They'll go in for the kill. So Jon Surdu Dracula only had to be bloodhound, but you look at the traits of that dog and what Surdu brings to the cage, and it's the perfect match for me.
Brilliant, Bryan. I loved them answers. Nathan, is there anything that you want to add, fella?
What dog would you make me, Nathan? What would you make me?
my knowledge of dogs is terrible. So that's why I was like, Dan, you need to leave.
Something loyal. Something loyal.
Something loyal and harmless. That's I would
I've
be
got a
like,
cockapoo, so I'll go with him. I'll go with that.
a cockapoo. I'll take it, mate. A cockapoo,
Yeah.
highly intelligent, needs lots of exercise and great hair. All my mates are bald, so I'll take it. I'll take it all day long.
But no, I'm just really like this is just to round off like just how big this event is, because this is
massive,
huge. Especially, you know, I'm a wrestling fan. This sort of gives off AEW at Wembley vibes. You know, this is big for a promotion like Oktagon as well.
Yeah, 100%. And it's one that, you know, I want fans to watch. There's a lot of great fights on this card. You can look at the top of it, the whole tail with the rematch of the century with Vemola and Attila Vey, but the whole card is phenomenal. Attila Korkmaz versus Amir Khan, Leandro Silva versus Gogoladze. There's great fights for fight fans, but on top of that, there's a show that's coming with it. This is a stadium show. This is a statement that Oktagon want to make. We've seen KSW do shows. We've seen other, you know, UFC do stadium shows. This is our first jump into it, first of 2 this year. And I feel like they always have something up their sleeve. They don't always tell me what it is, but I feel like fans should tune in for the fights, for the entertainment, and just to get that first taste of Oktagon on that big stage. Because I feel like next year, and some of the stuff we're talking about next year is insane. I think seeing us in stadiums will be a common thing. And yeah, this to be the first one is history. And the fights are ridiculous. If you love fighting, watch this card, because it's top to bottom exciting fights. And I feel like the backdrop will create the fighters to raise their game. Do you know when you see certain things on the line, or you see certain situations, and there's something about this. Every fighter I've spoken to has said something about, and without even being prompted, about being in front of that amount of fans, about that moment that they've dreamed of happening. So I feel like the fighters will raise their game. And because of that, I feel like we're in for an insane night of fights, which is what fight fans want, right?
Absolutely. But I've seen it, people label it, and yourselves, it's the circus. Now, from my perspective, I think it's more like a theme park, a roller coaster ride, because once you're on, you never want to get off.
There you go. Oh, mate, I'm nicking that. I'm having that. That's it.
I think, honestly, Bryan, I think it's more like a theme park roller coaster. Once you're on, you don't want to fucking get off. Circuses, you can get a bit bored. You know what I mean? It's a bit repetitive. Not with a theme park. You can't get bored on a theme park, no matter how repetitive it may seem.
I love it. I love it. No, it's true, and I feel like, again, the push is to try and wake UK fans up to this, because I think as fans we deserve it, but I also think our fighters deserve these type of shows, these types of experience, and it is different. And I can say it as many times as you know, I could keep shouting it into the distance. But when people like yourselves, or when people come for the first time and they experience it, like you said, that taste is different, and it's you're part of it. I don't feel like we're a promotion where you feel a million miles away from the fighters, or even, you know, the main people like Andre Novotny, Pavel Neruda, all the main players, the big stars, Youngworths, the David Cosmas, the Jon Serdus, and that for me as well. Aaron Abbey was in. I was with him today. I was with Aaron Abbey today, and we were just talking, and he said something nice to me. He said, I fought in a lot of promotions, he said, but this is the first one that I feel part of. You know, I feel like I'm like, whether it's a family vibe or whatever else he said, but I feel like they don't just take from me. I feel like I'm giving to them, but they also give back to me. And what you've said is, again, one of the biggest compliments we could take as a promotion, but to hear it from the fighters on that side as well, that is, you can't buy that, and you can't make that up. You can't make fighters say stuff like that. And I feel like that's what we do differently. So big things coming, but I appreciate you guys being on the train, on the roller coaster, as it were. This cockapoo is wagging his tail. Don't you worry. And I'm excited you're going to be out there, mate. We'll definitely have to grab a beer or something. It'd be nice to see you.
Yeah, both me and Nathan will be out there. Much love, Bryan. Thank you very much for joining us tonight and previewing a mega card.
I'll see you soon, boys. See you in Prague, gents.
Fella.